Hello, I'm Rukmini. I'm the author of the Roasting Tin series, and today I'm going to cook a recipe from the Quick Roasting Tin. It's this amazing dish. It is super easy to make on a weeknight. Sticky soy and honey roasted salmon with loads of amazing green veg. You can definitely use whatever you've got in the fridge, in the cupboard, but I like to use broccoli, sugar snaps, frozen peas, and you dress it all with a really nice lime and chili dressing. So I'm going to start off by blanching some tender stem broccoli. I always think if you're going to roast tender stem, it's much nicer if you can just dunk it in a bowl of boiling water first. It makes a real difference to the texture, but obviously if you can't be bothered to do this, just use ordinary broccoli, then you don't need to blanch it. Just completely cover the broccoli in the water. I'm going to pop the broccoli on the side. That'll take about a minute, and in the meantime I can get on with dressing. So I am going to just really quickly mix together a little bit of honey, a little bit of sesame oil, a little bit of soy sauce, and that's what I'm going to put on top of the salmon. It's just so simple and really, really effective. You don't want too much of anything and equal quantities of each one because you don't want it to be overpowering. And then just a little bit of honey. So give that a little mix. And now my broccoli is ready to drain. So broccoli is drained, pop that in the tin, along with some frozen peas, big handful of asparagus, and a packet of sugar snaps. So just quickly dress these with a little bit of sesame oil, about a tablespoon, and a little bit of salt. Give that a little bit of a mix. It should be roughly in one layer. And then it's time to pop the salmon on. So I've got 4 nice bits over here. You can just lay them on top of the vegetables. And then I'm going to put that dressing on. You basically want a couple of teaspoons of dressing on each bit of salmon. You can use any salmon. I quite like the lightly smoked ones, so that's what I'm using here. So just a little bit on each salmon fillet. And the thing with the honey is that it makes it a tiny bit sweet, and that's going to look even nicer when it goes in the oven. I'm going to go stick it in at 180 for about 20-25 minutes. So while the salmon's in the oven, that is a great opportunity to get on with your dressing. I'm going to take 3 spring onions and pop them in that bowl of cold water. It sort of takes some of the bite out of them when you're eating spring onions raw, and it also makes them crisp up really beautifully. So that is well worth doing. So I quite like slicing them long, but of course if you're a little bit pressed for time, you can always just slice them into rounds. Just cut them as thinly as you can because you don't want like a big mouthful of spring onion. So the spring onions can just sit in the water until the salmon's done. In the meantime, I'm going to chop a few peanuts and then squeeze a lime for the dressing. I always think it's really nice to finish off a dish with something a little bit crunchy, so usually chopped nuts, it can be seeds. I think spring onions, they add quite a lot of crisp. Having that kind of textural contrast through a dish is what makes it really special, I think, as opposed to just every day. So that's the peanuts done, and now I'm just really quickly going to make the dressing. It is just 3 ingredients. You need a lime, some sesame oil, and a little bit of fresh root ginger. If your lime isn't very juicy, or if you're not sure, just give it a bash on the work surface and that'll help release the juice. Obviously with dressings, it's always to your taste. So, make it up as the recipe says and then taste it and add more lime juice, add more salt. Everyone's palate is completely different. You don't want to be trying it for the first time when you put it down on the table. So that's the lime juice. Then the sesame oil, you just need about a tablespoon. I won't measure it, but it's about right. And now the ginger, and I find the best way to peel ginger is with a spoon rather than with a knife, because you don't lose quite so much of it. So you can see it comes off really, really easily. You want maybe about a thumb-sized amount, so about 6 centimeters. So I'm just going to grate this in with the microplane. It adds such an amazing flavour to the salmon. It really cuts through how rich salmon is. Really, the more the better. I think the ginger gives a real kick to this dressing. So once you've finished grating all of that in, just give it a quick stir and that's ready to go. Now I'm going to take a red chilli, and if it's a large one like this, I'm going to chop it quite small. But if you've got a smaller chilli, it's really nice if you cut it into little rounds. So I always de-seed my chilies because I don't like them super hot, but if you do, then by all means leave the seeds in. And I'm actually going to use just half a chili because I think that's going to be enough. So that is everything ready for this dish. I've got the spring onions, which are curling and crisping beautifully in the water. The chili and the peanuts are all chopped and the dressing's made, and that leaves me with 15 minutes until the salmon's ready. So that's the salmon just out of the oven. I think it looks absolutely lovely, and we're just going to finish it off with the dressing. So all that lovely ginger over the salmon and the vegetables. Scatter over these spring onions, and you can see that they've gone so crisp and they're so curly and lovely. Peanuts, and to finish off, just a little bit of chopped red chilli. So that is now ready to eat. A really easy weeknight dish from the quick roasting tin, which is full of really delicious and obviously very simple 30-minute meals.